Initial briefing regarding the Taurian Concordat force deployed for bidding in the Cameron Heat event. Per the request of command, a short overview of the units available in the list and their intended role within the force will be provided. As the missions involved are unknown at this juncture, speculation on list performance on any specific mission or ideal terrain will not be touched on here. A packet with details on the force construction, bidding regulations, rules of engagement, and possible mission parameters has been linked to this brief and is mandatory reading for all participants in the bidding process. This force is drawn from the TDF and consists of the 85-ton Rampage RMP-4G, 75-ton Marauder MAD-1R, a 40-ton Zephyr hover tank, a 20-ton Locust LCT-1V and Stinger STG-3G, and the 70-ton Archer ARC-2R. At 2,343 BV, the Rampage is over a quarter of the list by value. Its stated role marks it as a sniper. However, in the context of this list, it serves as a brawling threat to the enemy force. The Gauss rifle is the only notable long-range weapon, and while it serves well to punch holes and fish for headshots on the approach, the mech needs to get closer in order to properly exploit the remaining weapons of its loadout. In addition to its weaponry, the mech's potential speed puts it as a significant charge threat for the enemy, which will force the opponent to prioritize its destruction. Due to its XL engine, the mech will not stand up to sustained fire over the course of the match and is likely to be destroyed within 3 to 5 rounds of engaging the enemy force. This mech is intended as a distraction. It should be used to draw fire away from the rest of the force on contact with the enemy. Ideally, any time another mech is exposed to enemy fire, the Rampage should also be a target. Once in brawling range, it is a potentially lethal threat that cannot be ignored by the enemy, and every round it survives is extending the ability of more capable pilots to damage the foe. The MAD-1R is the original version of the classic 3R design. The notable difference is that the 1R significantly reduces the 3R's chance to die to an ammunition explosion by moving the AC-5 ammunition from the left torso to the right and protecting it with case. This both prevents the mech's destruction in the event of an ammunition hit, while also slashing the chance of hitting that ammo bin but to about a fifth of what it was. Ferrofibrous armor grants a little more staying power, allowing it to follow the Rampage. The 16 single heat sinks do make the mech more difficult to handle, but remembering to follow a firing pattern with the PPCs and AC-5 can keep this heat to a manageable level. Waiting to use the second PPC on shots with better odds will help prevent the mech from needing to cool off at a bad time. In a pinch, the Marauder can also maintain a 2-1 firing pattern with the PPCs with relative ease should firepower become more important than motion. The Marauder is intended as a bodyguard for the force, as it can be used to watch the Rampage's back on approach, while also having the range to assist the Archer with any enemy lights that make it into its minimum range. As a hover tank, the Zephyr is as vulnerable to motive damage as any other unit of its type. As a result, keeping it out of line of sight will be more important than most other units in the list to allow it to maintain its capacity to act as a threat. The hover tank's speed will allow it to bypass enemy forces and harass the rear line, or perform as an objective runner if need be. However, its most important role in the list comes in the form of its SRM and ECM systems. The SRM loads a ton of standard and a ton of Inferno SRMs, the latter of which can be used to play havoc with the mechs that rely heavily on good heat management. It should be noted that the SRM is not turret mounted, so the hover tank must have its turret in the front arc to employ this system. The ECM system can be used to jam a Beagle active probe and prevent it from assisting in performing certain objectives in the probe, signal trace, or recon relay missions that may take place during the tournament. ECM suites also block active probes from revealing hidden units, making them a useful tool for delaying the enemy in hide and seek. This unit has great potential to disrupt and damage the opposition, but only if played carefully and at the right time. The Locust and Stinger serve as chaff, objective runners, and initiative sinks if need be. Neither poses a significant offensive threat, but at sub-500 battle value, the mechs serve more as battlefield control than damage threats. Every turn they exist on the battlefield and force the enemy to react or fire at them is adding to their value, as well as the value of more expensive units by drawing fire that would otherwise go towards them. Finally, the classic Archer ARC-2R operates as the list's backline sniper. A 4-6 movement profile will allow the Archer to quickly position itself in its sniper perch, and standing still with 3 gunnery will allow the unit to be a more consistent threat. While on the move, the Archer can follow a 2-1-1 firing pattern with its LRMs, and while standing still, it can fire both LRM systems for 4 consecutive turns without heat meaningfully affecting the unit. The use of double blind this mission does mean that getting this unit to a high perch quickly will give you a better idea of the disposition of enemy units than staying at ground level will. This force is designed with an eye towards objectives more than combat. None of the units in the list will be able to stand up to equivalent Star League Royal designs for long, bar the Rampage and the Zephyr. As such, commanding the force will require remembering to check if a different unit on the list can deal with a mech when it closes, and concentrating fire on the most important threat if multiples present themselves. It will be weaker in a straight-up fight. Its 3 heavy hitters are meant to cover one another should they come under close-range attack. Highly mobile and heavily armed medium mechs are likely to prove the greatest threat to this list, and ideally should be dealt with before they reach the backline of the force. Remember that the Rampage is intended to serve as a distraction. It is a threat that must be dealt with and will not go down quickly. Take advantage of every turn the Rampage takes fire, as those will be the turns that will do the most to dictate where the battle will go. Any questions regarding the force may be directed to Mech Warrior Lincoln via the MRC. List bidding ends tonight. We'll see you on the field.